I am excited. I've got Erin Bradley on the program today, and she is an amazing rock star in her profession. And she's going to give us some really good insights today, but she's got an amazing background. She's a speaker, she's a trainer, she's a best-selling author. She is the host of the real estate podcast, Pursuing Freedom. She's also got a website called pursuingfreedom.com. And we're just going to get into it with Erin. I was on Erin's program, I don't know, a month or two ago. It's great time. So I invited her on this program. So Erin, welcome. First of all, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Jim. I'm excited to be here with you and your audience.
Yes, thank you so much. So just for people that haven't met you or haven't experienced you yet, I mean, what's your background? Give us a little bio on you.
Sure. So I fell into the mortgage side of the real estate industry in 2006, and I saw my manager, come into the office in jeans and a t-shirt and, putting on a suit for his closings and going to yoga in the middle of the day. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the life for me. Just freedom and flexibility. I don't have to wear any fancy clothes if I don't have to,
Yeah.
Nobody's going to tell me what to do. So I went 100% commission as a loan originator in 2007. And I did so with no game plan, no sales skills, no safety net to speak of. And
wow.
Fast forward to the summer of 2008, I'm $35,000 in credit card debt. I'm so broke that I get a referral for a client. And I didn't have enough money for gas. So I rode my bike 5 miles across Denver, Colorado in the heat of summer. And I got there early to, let the sweat wipe off and whatnot so that he wouldn't know that I'd ridden my bike to the meeting. And the client walks into Starbucks as my credit card is being declined for a $2 cup of coffee.
No.
Yeah. And honest to God, I did not know which credit card had $2 on it to pay for a cup of coffee. So I didn't want to start trying other cards and have multiple cards decline, because that would be like even revealing the horrible truth. So it's just like lied and said it was my debit card, and I was going to have to call the bank and see what was going on. And he bought my coffee. And I just remember like being at rock bottom, and I called my dad for advice, and I was getting married a month later and literally banking on, I remember thinking like, thank God we invited 250 people to our wedding, because any cash gifts that we were going to pay the mortgage for us.
Perfect.
It was just nuts. And so, and it wasn't about 2008 and the market crashing, because I didn't even have any perspective. I came from teaching English in Barcelona, making like $900 a month. So I had nowhere to go but up. And unfortunately, I just kept going down. So it wasn't about the market. It was just about really, honestly, just not having any idea how to be successful in this business, and thinking that you can just wing it and have it be organic and all this. And so I remember calling my dad and asking for advice, and he kind of told me, just do whatever it takes. And like, if you think you're gonna be good at this, just do whatever it takes. And I remember, probably opening another credit card and buying internet leads, whatever that meant in 2008. And then I hired a coach. And I mean, that's the interesting thing, right? Is here I am, $35,000 in credit card debt, totally broke and basically hopeless, but determined.
Just gonna keep charging.
Like I'm going to show you kind of thing. So it's just, I mean, it's a good thing to point out for folks is that, when you invest in yourself and you invest and you believe in the fact that if with the right tools, I will find a way, don't ever fear investing in yourself. And so that's what I did. And I remember the advice from my dad was like, do whatever it takes. And then, I hire coaches and I go through all the sales training, and I would do the homework that they told me to do. It's just like, make the calls, write the notes, see the people. But I struggled still with finding the connection between doing the work and then who I am as a human being, and the authenticity and the sincere desire to serve and all this other stuff. And so it felt like, here I am, Erin Bradley, putting on my worker hat and doing the job. And it felt like a grind, like you're checking boxes, you're going through the motions, and things are working, but there's not a lot of joy in it. And then fast forward all the way to 2011, the business was doing just fine. Okay.
So you stayed in the business. You just kept grinding and grinding.
Yep, totally. Yep. And then it wasn't until 3 years later that someone gave me the book, The Go-Giver by Bob Burg and John David Mann, which I highly recommend to anyone. It was a total paradigm shift for me, because the whole idea is that what wasn't resonating with me with the sales training, and what I know creates a disconnect for so many people in our industry, is that so many of us are caregivers at heart. We're servant-hearted people. And when we're given advice on how to be successful in a sales business, so much of the activity, it feels like there's an agenda behind it that's self-serving. And
Yeah.
because of that, we feel stuck. We get worried about what people are going to think of us. We don't want to look salesy. We, feel awkward, whatever. And so nothing happens. Or if it does happen, it falls flat because there's no energy behind it that's genuine and true. And so the Go-Giver was all about giving more value than you hope to receive in payment. And I developed a strategy that ended up resulting in more than doubling my business the following year. And the idea there was that we need to be visible and be a resource above and beyond the transaction. That the transaction is just one brushstroke in the painting of our clients' lives. So in order to be a resource, we need to know what's going on with them in life, health and wellness, financial goals, needs around the house, you name it, right? Family, everything, the real life stuff.
Yeah.
And so I started building what I called the yellow pages, which is obsolete now, but I started working on building a tribe of trusted local service providers to be able to be the person who's got a guy for everything for my friends and family and clients. That way I was always top of mind, which meant when they heard the word mortgage, they thought of me, the human being who does that for a living. So changing the whole mantra of like, we just need to show up as human beings and give value every single day. And let the business, what we do for a living, be something we attract as a byproduct.
Yeah.
Value in all areas of life. And
I love
that became the content for a workshop I started teaching to real estate agents, and then eventually put that content and that strategy outlined in the book Pursuing Freedom in 2016. And then it wasn't until 2018 that I started the podcast. And over the journey, what unfolded is that the mortgage business continued to grow. And rather than fear that growth or resent it or burn out and quit, which almost happened a number of times, I started working on building a team of amazing people and realizing that when we seek out support and we enlist the help of others to be able to serve more families, more homeowners, we're not doing our clients a disservice. We're creating more opportunity to serve and impact more people's lives. And we're also creating a path in the industry for other caring, loving people that might be able to benefit from the vehicle that this industry can be to create a beautiful life.
Right.
And so that's kind of brought us to where we are today. So I'm just really passionate about helping people not just get to where they're trying to go, which most people in our industry, they take the leap of faith and go 100% commission and forego the steady paycheck in pursuit of some version or idea of freedom and flexibility. And either we're struggling to get to that level of freedom financially because of all of our fears holding us back, or the business takes off and we decide to just suck it up and work 24/7, or suck it up during our busy months and look forward to when it slows down so we can live again. And that's almost worse. Like surviving success is almost more painful than the path to achieving some level of success, right?
Yeah, I love it. There's a miserable level of success, which we all see people in every industry, whether it's lending or real estate, where they're killing it. They get every award, they get their pats on the back, but you can just look on their face and they hate it every minute of it. They're not enjoying the process. Right. And I think that's really, really telling. It's really interesting, actually. But you just gave us so much right there. Just that little segment. We could talk for days about all of it. But this idea of being a servant and being like coming from a caregiving perspective of I'm trying to help people, which I love, and I think it's such a difference mindset when you see people that are truly balanced and happy and enjoying the process of being where they're at. They look at their clients not as clients but as friends, and they're helping their friends and they're helping people connect, which I think is great. But I just a little bit of a connection point here for me and just for the audience. So. Being authentic, being somebody that's a connector, being somebody that's, looking at, like you said, helping people in all aspects of their life. But that doesn't necessarily pay the bills like today, right? So did it take time for that attraction to kick in? Like, oh, now the referrals are starting to pour in based on me being a servant? Or how did that work exactly?
Sure. So let's take it down to the tactical level, right? So that's kind of the philosophy behind it, the philosophical approach of, okay, this is how I want to show up in the lives of the people that I care about.
Right.
We do need, of course, to have a simple game plan. And what's interesting is that so many entrepreneurs are free-spirited at heart and actually avoid and somewhat abhor structure and look at it as suffocating and look at scheduling and time blocking and single tasking as like the enemy. And I I kind of avoided it for far too long. And what ended up happening, I actually did a little experiment in 2019, which anyone can do today, which is to simply pull out our database, friends and family, sphere, past clients, wherever you are in your journey. Even if you only have 50 people that you think you know, you can do this process. First and foremost, look for the people that bring a smile to your face genuinely. Okay. Take the agenda out of it. Not whether they're going to buy or sell tomorrow, or not whether they're going to refer you someone tomorrow, nothing to do at all with real estate, really. Forget about selling for a minute. And then what I do is, if you're at the very beginning of the journey, you just have a small database, you can simply pull them up on social media. Try to get a sense of what they might be posting and what that energetic or emotional state is right now, right? So are they posting stress and angst? Are they posting joy and celebration, sadness? And look for something. And then I reach out to them just sincerely just to check in and say, hey, I just wanted to check in and see how you're holding up. How's back to school going for you? How's COVID affecting your job security? Any of those things, right?
Yeah.
But in the process of building this tribe, I leveraged my friends and family. So I knew I had a formula. The formula was to make at least 5 calls a day. And then I would do a handwritten note to each and every person I reached out to, even if I got their voicemail. And the conversation would look like this. Hey, Jim, it's been a while. And, I'm working on my business plan for 2021. As you know, I just got into real estate a couple months ago. And part of my business plan is that I really want to be a resource to my friends and family above and beyond just real estate. So there's your subtle real estate plug and expectation that hopefully they think of you, right? Without being cheesy and salesy.
Right.
Anyway, I was thinking of you, and I was wondering if you happen to know a good such and such, let's say an accountant. Do you have a good CPA? I have a gap in my referral directory for a good CPA. So I'm really trying to find somebody that would be a match for me and for me to refer to my clients. Do you know you're a chiropractor? Do you have a good massage therapist or acupuncturist? You're a GC. Who do you recommend for small handyman jobs, electrical work, flooring, anything, right? That's just the premise of the conversation. It has nothing to do with me getting a referral or getting a real estate deal out of this. And then before I hang up, if they give me a referral, great. I'm now growing my database in the process of building my tribe. If they don't have a referral, I now have a follow-up task that when I find that good CPA, I'll be sure to get back to you and connect you. So I'm creating a flurry, a snowball of activity that comes on the heels of every phone call. But the last thing and most important thing, which I got from Michael Maher's 7 Levels of Communication, which is a real estate specific book, is to never leave the call without an action item. So much of our sales training is like, all right, just make the call and say, and if you need somebody who needs a realtor, I'd love to help them. And if we don't put that plug in there, then the call doesn't count. And what happens is we get so awkward and uncomfortable that even if we do the work and we check the box, a lot of times we never got to the bottom of anything going on in their life. So how are we actually going to give value if we don't know what's happening in their life? So usually you have to lead with some kind of question of like, well, what else has been going on with you? And then you can ask those questions, right? How are you holding up? Or, what'd you guys do for Labor Day weekend? Are you traveling for the holidays? All things pre-COVID and post-COVID, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, whatever's going
and
on.
You're looking for the action item. So when you get the opportunity to find out they're doing the remodel or that their kid broke his leg or whatever, you can get off the phone and think of something to send. Either a handwritten note just to say it was nice to hear your voice. Maybe a little gift for the little boy with the broken leg, a Lego, right? Maybe it's the business, maybe you're sending the contact for your preferred electrician. Whatever it might be, there's an action item. So now you're demonstrating the very concept of you being a resource.
Got it.
And then there's like a whole nother level to that, which is the marketing aspect, because now as you build that tribe, you're not just looking for folks to send business to. So many people in our industry send out a lot of referrals, but it's like a one-way train.
Yeah.
We're not actually connecting with those individuals on the receiving end to find out what's happening for them in life. Like, what are their goals? What are their fears? When did they become self-employed in this line of work? What's holding them back from achieving the success that they want? How's their business being affected by this pandemic? Or how's their business being affected by the fact that they're also homeschooling preschoolers now, right?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff going on in people's lives. If we just keep it human, and we keep the transactions out of the conversation, I guarantee you start making these 5 calls a day with this conversation, and then you have your follow-up with your handwritten notes or your little gifts or whatever you want to call it. before you make 20 calls, you're going to have a referral coming in, quote unquote, out of the blue.
Right.
So we track everything. We just keep it really simple. 25 calls a week, 10 handwritten notes with focus, with follow-up, and with authenticity.
Love it.
As an experiment last year, we decided we wanted to get to 15 closings a month. And so we started the year at 3. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start writing. I love closing 15 a month. And I'm going to do this. This is going to be the one thing I do. I'm going to call all my January closings for the last 5 years in January, all my February in February. So one day of the month on the phone all day, one day a week, doing a video live on Facebook and sending it out to 500 people on BombBomb with something simply educational. Like we get this question all the time about such and such. I thought it might be helpful to explain ...
How long is the video?
Quick, like 5 minutes.
Okay.
And it's like something that you've explained 100 times in your sleep. You know what I mean? Like we have nightmares about explaining inspection resolutions, right? Or escrows or whatever.
Right.
Anything like that. Any conversation that you and I have could be like, oh, I can make a video out of that conversation we just had, right? So anyhow, what we saw the closings go from 3 in January to 3 in February. And I was like, wait a minute.
This isn't working at all.
No, we kept going, right? Just keeping it simple, keeping it consistent. Really simple and consistent. And it didn't take a lot of time, but we saw 3 closings in February, 9 in March, 12 in April, fell off a little in May, and then 17 in June.
Nice.
Point being that from where you are to where you want to be could be transformed radically. If you remove the agenda, fully engage with simplicity, consistency, authenticity, you can triple your volume in as little as 90 days. You can quadruple it, and then you can 5 times it in as little as 4 months.
Love it.
So
let's talk about that word authenticity, because you said in the beginning of this, which is really where a lot of agents rest, I think, is you come into the real estate business because you want to be an independent contractor, move away from being an employee, and you want freedom. And freedom somehow is connected to the freedom to not do anything either, and just have this expectation of making a ton of money, right? But the word you used was organic. Like, I just want my business to come organically, or we hear that word a lot, like organic growth in the business. But the truth of the matter is that doesn't work, right? It just doesn't happen. And so I think this idea of authenticity versus organic business is a completely different thing. Authenticity means you're being authentic to who you are and how you approach life and your philosophy of life. But there's a system behind it, and there's a tactical, process behind it. And I think that's really interesting. So with your team members, just for the people that are running teams, like you're running a team, are you measuring accountability in these simplistic like processes, like you have to do this, and this is the expectation? Is that what you do?
Yeah, I mean, so that experiment, I handled all of the activity I just mentioned, and then I've got one of my best friends I hired 5 years ago. She handles all the customer service aspect of the loan process now, and then we have we now just hired a second assistant for her that are kind of like transaction coordinators, kind of behind the scenes, crossing T's, dotting I's, organizing documents, et cetera. And then we have a processor. We like to call it our small but mighty team. And that our business on the heels of doing this and truly doing it as an experiment for our podcast listeners and my coaching clients and things like that, is that the whole experiment was just to see, like, what happens if we keep it super simple. We work less than we've ever worked before while having more fun than ever. And we had a 59% increase in our volume last year.
Wow.
And the best part about it, talking about freedom, is that all those years I was struggling and in the grind and checking boxes and going through the motions and sucking it up, and then, having the business take off in a big way, and drowning and pregnant with my second child, and thinking I'm going to quit the business because the trade-off of time for money just wasn't worth it. And the misery, right, of like the overwhelm being almost as bad as being broke. Yeah. The thing about it is that none of that felt freeing. None of that was freedom. Neither end of the spectrum felt liberating at all. And so for those of us who avoid simplicity and structure, I would love to tell you guys that it is not suffocating. It is liberating. Because when we could measure it, we saw it like it was scientific, and I skied more than 75 days last winter. I live in a ski town, And
Wow.
we camped more than 30 nights on the lake last summer with our young kids. And we traveled 5 weeks of vacation last year. I just got done a month on the road with my camper and our business, like we're having our best year ever. And freedom
Wow.
to me means that I know exactly what needs to happen to create predictable growth in my business. And I know exactly what needs to happen for me to expect it to work out and to plan for it to work out so that when it does grow, it
Hmm.
doesn't rob me of my ability to enjoy the very freedom and flexibility I was seeking when I started.
Yeah, I love it. So with your systems that you have in place, when you're taking a month off and you're on the road, are you still working the system, or is that assigned to somebody else in the office?
Well, starting a year ago, I handed that piece of the business over to my friend and then hired her support to take over more of what she was doing.
Got
So
it.
I'm not doing that aspect of the lead generation anymore because now I'm mentoring and coaching and running the podcast and other things. So, um,
So, so when you're looking at, let's talk about time management for a little bit, because you're talking about a lot of free time, which I love. I think that's amazing. So your business supports your life doesn't support your business. How do you structure your week, or maybe when you're coaching people, how do you structure their week? Maybe that's a better question.
sure. So I have a simple formula or rule, which is that mornings are for me.
Mm.
Um, I used to, like most of us, roll over, let my phone be my alarm clock. And while I'm still in bed, I'm checking emails. Next thing you know, I'm responding to text messages. Before you know it, I'm in the rabbit hole of social media, all before I ever got out of bed in the morning.
Mm.
And I suffered from a lot of stress over the years and a lot of anxiety that I couldn't really put my finger on until I read The Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents in
Mm.
2015.
Great book.
And I started a morning routine then, and then later read Miracle Morning Millionaire, which is also really good. But anyhow, what I've discovered, which is just, again, adding to like structure being liberating, is that when we allow ourselves to go down that rabbit hole before we've even stepped out of bed, or while we're drinking our coffee, before, or we're checking email before we've had any pause, right?
Yeah.
We're essentially allowing our energy and our attention, and in some cases, even our emotion, to be hijacked by everybody else's agendas before we've ever taken the wheel. And as business owners, we have to be in the driver's seat. We cannot go about our life as a passenger on everybody else's speeding trains that are about to go off the rails. That's what
Mm.
causes the feeling of lack of control, the feeling of overwhelm. It feeds the fear, so much fear, like fear of failure, fear of letting people down, fear of dropping the ball, fear of what people will think. Honestly, in some cases, fear of success, right? Like if you've had your best month ever and it sucked the life out of you, what do? You tell yourself you don't need to do so much. You only need to do so much to be happy. So you shrink your vision. We almost are afraid of success and growth because of what we think it'll cost us and sacrifice. So the morning routine is the first and foremost. Do not check your emails, text messages, or social media before you've given yourself a chance to pause. Do some reading of something that's going to feed your brain with ideas. Read affirmations, write your affirmations over and over again to awaken the part of your brain that's called your reticular activating system, awaken you to new ideas, get clarity so that you can feel in control of your own emotional and energetic state, so that when you do get ready to get into work and you start looking at your emails or you start making those calls, you're bringing the highest energy, most magnetic, most positive version of yourself in
Mm.
such a way that you create a positive ripple to every person you interact with throughout the day, which magnetizes the right kinds of clients and relationships and opportunities into your life and business. When we roll over and we start the day in reactive mode, we're allowing ourselves to be sapped energetically before we've even started. And it feeds so much negativity and limiting beliefs. And like, it's, that feeling of like, I know I need to make some calls today, but I'm just
Mhm.
not in the mood.
Yes.
That's your energy.
Right.
So managing our energy, managing ourselves has to be the first priority if we
Yes.
want to create predictable growth in our business in such a way that it's designed to support the lifestyle vision we had when we started.
Love it. So when you are talking with somebody that maybe is overwhelmed by their current business model, like they're just in complete overwhelm, what would be the first like things? Because you talk about this kind of concept of reduction, and it is really something I was like, ooh, when she talks about reduction, I need to listen to this like myself because you talked about the art of subtraction, not the reduction, art of subtraction. So explain what do you mean by the art of subtraction?
Yeah. So it's simple. I mean, our industry is like, I just think it's so messed up in some ways because in every other industry, there's a twofold component to this. In every other industry, in most industries, I should say, individuals evolve in their journey in their career. So you start out entry level, you learn certain tasks and responsibilities, you try to master those, and there's some kind of fun in the challenge of learning new things and
It's
mastering
growth.
new things. And so as you master certain things, then you might get a promotion. And now you learn new skills and you take on new responsibilities and you graduate from other tasks and responsibilities that you used to have to do. Okay. And then on and on it goes. We evolve as human beings. Our knowledge base evolves, our priorities and what matters to us evolves. Everything is changing all the time. However, as solopreneurs, I see far too many of us that are trying to be good at way too much. And there's also so much distraction in our industry, right? And it's an epidemic that because we're all paralyzed by like the what if I don't succeed, we look around too much and we look at what everybody else is doing and we compare ourselves to others and we try to do too much. What I learned from the podcast, which I'm sure you have as well, which has been really fun and interesting byproduct, is that the diversity in our industry of individuals and gifts, personalities, backgrounds, skill sets, what they enjoy doing versus what they hate doing. There's so much diversity when it comes to individuals that can find success and enjoy the process. And the ones that are having the most fun and achieving the highest levels of like production volume, et cetera, the ones that are having the most fun are the ones that are unapologetic about what they are willing to do, what they're good at, what they enjoy, and what they're unwilling to do, what they know that they aren't good at or that they don't enjoy.
I love
There's
it. Yeah.
an awesome book, if you haven't read it, called Free to Focus that helps you unpack all of this. But as soon as I see someone overwhelmed, we start analyzing every single checkbox, every task, every commitment that's showing up on your calendar. And we need to analyze those commitments and those tasks and ask yourself, how do you feel energetically when you see that person's name on your calendar or when you see that unchecked box? And specifically examine the unchecked boxes that move from day to day and week to week, because if you are feeling dread, procrastination, all that junk, right? What is that doing? It's sapping your energy. So you start shooting all over yourself like, oh, I still didn't do that thing. Like, oh, I suck. Why didn't I do that thing? I'm so inconsistent with this thing. I should have done this. I should be doing that. I'm shooting all over myself. And it's like, when you have that, if you can pause enough to create awareness around your energetic and emotional response to certain aspects of the business, that's an indication of activities that should be examined and determine whether they need to be done at all. Could they be omitted? Could they be done by somebody else?
Yeah.
If somebody else who enjoys that kind of task could handle it, maybe it might even be just 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, to be consistent with getting your birthday cards out, your closing anniversaries, your closing gifts, paying attention to what's going on in people's lives and sending those thoughtful things. If you're not getting that done, but you're filled with great ideas, hiring help just allows you to have a bigger impact on the hearts and minds of the people that you care about in your database and in your sphere. So what I mean by that is that I feel like I could go on Facebook and I could think, oh my gosh, I just saw something about Jim's life and I really want to reach out to him. I really want to send him a note, or I want to send him a little gift for, whatever, the baby being born, right? And then it doesn't get done.
Right.
And then I beat myself up and now I'm allowing my energy to be sapped. So when I show up to that important interaction, the kind of meeting that will change the trajectory of my business, that I enjoy and that I'm good at, unfortunately, I'm showing up without knowing I'm preoccupied. I'm distracted. My mind is consumed with the unfinished tasks, the to-do list. So I encourage people that are overwhelmed to examine everything on their calendar and ask yourself, how am I spending my time? How does it make me feel? Does it need to be done at all? And am I the only person that can do it? And if it finally gets down to it, that you have to do this energy draining activity, then you've got to batch it. So you pick one day a week that you do all the things that suck the life out of you.
We get that spot.
Yeah. And then you're going to be miserable doing it. So then you schedule something
Just do it.
awesome after it. Like then you go have happy hour with a friend, or then you
Right.
go to the gym or whatever, so that you can prepare yourself to be back in your peak performance for that evening showing or that listing appointment.
Love it.
It's just about awareness. It's like, we're doing too much. We're not all good at everything. You suck at a lot of things that I'm good at, and I suck at a lot of things that you're good at.
True. Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's interesting when you talk about bringing other people in to complement what you don't do well. I think one of the biggest fear points for agents is the cost structure, right? So we both coach people on cost. You've grown a team. How do you look at that? How do you look at costs? You know, and is it a good investment? When do I make those investments? How do you address those things when you're coaching people?
Okay, so I'm going to answer that in two parts. One is like specific tactical.
Yeah.
Meaning, what's it costing me, right? So let's say, for example, but this is something we just did, right? I found someone who's called an outside business manager. She is kind of like a virtual assistant, lives in the States, and supports business owners with anything that you need support with. So I hired her for $950 a month. So let's just call it $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And her job was going to be to do, holiday related mailers, event planning, birthday cards, closing anniversary gifts, sending out a survey to find out their favorite restaurants, fun things, right? All the fun stuff. And then on top of that, she holds me accountable to getting that video to her so she can get it posted and get it out on all the platforms, or get it out to through BombBomb. These are all things that like I could say I'm going to do, and then I do it 20% consistently. You know what I'm saying? So she was also going to do post-closing calls, just checking in on behalf of Erin and her team and see if you have any questions about anything. Do you need anything? And a reminder that we have this referral directory if you ever need anything, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you, if you are thinking that would be so cool to have somebody do all those things, my first question is, do you think that would grow my business if that was happening with consistency?
Right.
Chances are yes. Okay. Could I close one more transaction a month theoretically by making sure that all those tasks are happening with consistency? So the answer is yes, right? I would close at least one more transaction a month. So what's your average commission? Let's say your average commission is $5,000. Okay. It's not costing you $1,000 to put that into place with consistency. It's costing you the spread of $4,000 not to. It's costing you $48,000 a year to not get some aspect of your business automated to create a level of consistency that keeps you in front of people and in a way that aligns with who you are. That's the thing. So with her help, if I have the idea to send roses to my mom on Mother's Day, and I don't do it because I'm terrible at executing on details, and I don't know why. I just can't seem to get myself onto Google and find that florist in Philadelphia. Right?
Yeah.
And then it doesn't get done, and I beat myself up. It's doing the same thing. It's this whole vicious cycle. So when I have the idea and I say, "Can you please do this for me?" and then it happens, the emotional impact from my mom is not different.
Right. Right.
When she receives the roses on Mother's Day, her emotional response is still directed at the person who had the idea, which is me.
Right.
So the last part of this, or the other second part of it, is this. When you go through that, so like if you go and you track your time, pay attention to what did I do all day today, all day. I'm like, I have a time tracker worksheet on my website that people can download. It's just, you can do it in a notebook though. It doesn't matter. You just write down, what are you doing all day, every day. And you look at those tasks that bring you some sort of dread or procrastination, or that just aren't getting done at all. And then you ask yourself, if I'm doing this thing with only 20 to 25% consistency, if I were to hire a part-time person and they could do it with 100% consistency, even if only 80% as good as I think I do it, I'm going to impact the hearts of more people. I'm going to touch more people's lives. Like, I'm talking like the little things. Like, I know this one client, I know her favorite band. So when they had a baby, we sent a onesie with her favorite band on the onesie.
Nice.
I got the email that I'm the most thoughtful person on the planet, but all I had to do was see it, think of it, and then shoot a text message to the person that's going to execute. Now it's executed by my idea alone. There's no more further follow-up. I don't have to get on Amazon and scroll. I hate shopping.
Yeah.
There's
So
things
we're
like
the, I think what you're saying is we're the ultimate choke point in a lot of cases. So even with the best of intention, we don't follow through, because
yeah.
we're, a lot of people that are in our business are kind of high level alphas. So that means we're actually details are something we don't enjoy, right? In most cases, right? A great example of exactly what you're saying, which is really telling, is when you're hiring a VA, a virtual assistant, an agent. That's like a first step for a lot of agents is a VA now.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that you get with a VA company like My Outdesk or any of the ones that are out there is, do you have a system in place right now for your leads? Are you using a CRM? And what's interesting is, about 80% of the agents don't.
Yeah.
And so it's like the first kind of recognition, like I can never actually run my business at the highest level until I get myself to a point where I can actually hire a VA, a virtual assistant. So what you were just saying there a minute ago is it forces a level of accountability. Like when you're talking about the idea that you now have to get a video out in order for her to send it out, creates a level of accountability you wouldn't have had it before. And hiring a VA means I have to have a CRM, which means I have to have that connected to my IDX, which means I have to have a system in place for them to work. It just creates a level to your business that you're not currently operating at, and it forces you to grow, I think, in a lot of ways. I think it's really brilliant what you're saying.
Well, there's two things on that. One is that you just said a lot of things about then I need to get my CRM so that I can connect it to my IDX, et cetera. And right there becomes the sticking point, because so many of us think to ourselves, well, before I can hire my VA, I have to do all these steps and I'm too overwhelmed to do those steps. Well, you're not too overwhelmed to do those steps. You're just not doing those steps because you're not good at it or you don't like it. And therefore you're procrastinating on it. What I say to people is that when you hire that first assistant, just let them follow you around, and then they create the operational model. They create the system. They create the future job description, right? So that when they grow, and most people fall into this business. So instead of looking at hiring someone as a burden, I like to rewrite the script to say that I attract kind, caring, and conscientious people that are looking to work for and be mentored by someone like me in an industry that can provide them a path to freedom. And so I look at it like, I can give someone who currently is being underappreciated and undervalued at whatever job they have, or maybe they don't have a job at all. I can give them a glimpse into this industry at a very entry level way. And then I can assess their work ethic at very low cost on my part. And once I see that work ethic and I see that attention to detail and et cetera, usually within a few months, they're taking on more responsibility. And usually before long, within 6 months, we do personality profile tests from the beginning, but we're really trying to figure out which part of this business would be fun for you. Would you enjoy being a TC someday? Would you enjoy being on the sales side? There's no limit to which way you can go. So I never try to hold on tight to them staying in this position, and instead look at it as they're going to improve our business. And in doing so, they're going to create more opportunities. We're going to impact the lives of more people. And then we're going to create even more opportunities in the process. So there's no fear there.
I love it. I love it. So when you're talking about kind of life design, because you completely redesigned your life, right? And now your business supports your life. Was that a process where you sat down with maybe your significant other and said, okay, this is what we want to try to achieve. Like this is the ultimate goal that we're trying to get to, and then started rebuilding, or how did it work exactly?
So I would say around 2015, I hired my first team member, not until 2014. So when I talked about the business more than doubling, I mean, in 2012, while pregnant and having a toddler at home, I closed around 80 transactions with no assistance, no help, no systems in place to manage that business. And I was drowning in life and in business, drowning. So I continued to suck it up all the way through 2013, contemplated quitting the business, et cetera. Tried shrinking my vision and then didn't feel happy with that either, right? Like playing small. And then in 2014, I committed to hiring my first team member, and I brought on a friend of mine. And then in 2015, with that, the help of one person, taking stuff off my plate and giving her a piece of my commission. So she was 100% commission. She was willing to do that to learn the business. Our business more than doubled again in 2015.
Wow.
And so we started hiring more people. And it was around that time that I started thinking, why not now? So in other words, I like to talk about how we need to identify our fears that are holding us back, right? well, I'm afraid to hire somebody because what if this business isn't consistent? Or I'm afraid to have this person call my clients because what if they get upset that it's not me? Or I'm afraid that, you know, I'm afraid if I grow my business, it's going to suck the life out of me because I was miserable doing X. So I'm just going to play small. So I'm good with X, right? And so we live with these fears and we allow them to hold us back from achieving our truest potential. So if we can identify fears and acknowledge that all they are is just believing in an unlikely future outcome that's never happened before. Fear is just attaching to something in the future that's never actually happened and is negative and in most cases unlikely. Fear or faith is the opposite. Faith is believing in the outcome that's never happened before. The only difference is you're believing in the positive, right? Either way, it doesn't matter. You're just attaching yourself to something that's never happened before because it's in the future. So I try to tell people, choose freedom. Everything is a choice. If we're drowning and we're sucking it up and we're overwhelmed at the top and we think that we convince ourselves based on fear that this is the only way and this is the prescription for success. This is just how you succeed in real estate, is you just work all the time. And you never take a vacation and you never turn your phone off and you never stop checking your emails when it's 6 a.m. or 12 o'clock at night, doesn't matter. Anyone can take the wheel and make a choice to do things differently. When we acknowledge that the only thing stopping us is the fear, the imaginary outcome. And so when you practice that, acting in spite of your fear, choosing freedom, incredible things start happening. And all of a sudden you realize that acting in spite of your fear is a skill that can be honed and developed over time. You just hear that little voice in your head trying to talk you out of something or convince you it's not going to work or it's not realistic. And you're like, I know you, that's just fear. I'm going to punch you in the face and do it anyway, you know?
Love it.
And then like cool stuff happens. So, I mean, I interviewed a girl on my podcast, a woman who became a real estate agent after her husband left her with a 2-week-old and a 2-year-old. Wow. She immediately hired a coach. And in her 3rd month, she did 9 closings. Wow. However, it was winter. She has never, her kids are probably 12 and 14 now. She's a luxury agent with Liv Sotheby's. She has never worked summers or nights.
Wow. Unbelievable.
And if she was working nights, she was bringing the boys with her, right?
Wow.
But in the summertime, she doesn't handle clients. She takes 25% referral fee for any business that comes her way. She takes her foot off the gas in May, stops doing lead gen activities, because she knows it's 90 days from consistent lead gen to results. And so when she takes her foot off the gas of lead gen, she knows it's going to slow down. And then come August, September, she goes pedal to the metal, re-engages, leverages the holidays to create energy and excitement and connect with all her favorite people. And she has her busiest months in the winter when everybody else is either burnout or they're dejected because they're not hitting their goals and they take their foot off the gas and coast. She's driving fast and she crushes it. That was simply a choice that she made.
Right. It's a strategy. She's just implementing it. Love it.
And she just chose it without apology, without excuses. This is what really matters to me. I chose the real estate business so that I could be with my boys. How powerful is that?
Super powerful. I love that. That's amazing. So good.
People just need to have more boundaries and then just lead with your boundaries. Just try on leading with your boundaries. Like, if you don't want to do showings afternoon on Saturday and somebody reaches out to you, instead of saying, I'm wide open this weekend, try saying, it looks like I'm free until 7 on Friday and before noon on Saturday. And you don't have to say, I don't work Sundays. Just lead with your boundaries and see what happens. Chances are they'll slide right into a slot that works for you. And if they don't, then you choose whether you're going to make the exception to the rule based on what the right kind of client to make an exception for. You're the driver. You're the boss. That's why you became self-employed to begin with.
Yes. Love it. You've given me so much information here. I've taken 3 pages of notes, so many one-liners. I'm going to be looking at this again and again and again. Lead with boundaries. Why not now? Acting in spite of fear. All so much good stuff here. Incredible. Where can people get more of you?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at Pursuing Freedom Official, or you can contact me through pursuingfreedom.com. There's also lots of free resources to download there. There's also a free 5-step guide to more referrals, which is like the Cliff Notes to the book. So yeah, visit me at pursuingfreedom.com, and I'm always happy to help anyone ever. I mean, I obviously geek out on this because I was such a hot mess for so long. So I just want to be a support to anybody that is struggling in any capacity on their journey, because the more that you act in spite of your fear in any way, and you realize that it's up to you to design your life and then organize your business to support your lifestyle goals, the more you see that, you know, miracles are available to all of us. So
I love it so much. Erin Bradley, thank you so much for
thank you.
everything that you've given us. And we look forward to seeing you soon again. Thanks so much.
Definitely.